Hello, Nori here. Welcome to another episode of Love in Deep Space. Today we are diving into a rather serious, intense, heavy, and a difficult topic to talk about. It is objectification in games. How much of it is too much? The ideas of morality, freedom, and power fantasy. Now, I would like to give out a little disclaimer. Now, before we begin, this video is not about censorship. It is about balance, respect, and understanding the line between freedom of creative expression and harm through systemic biases. And moreover, this is going to be a formal essay style of video, and I will come up with another video that contains my personal observation and notes where I'm more informal. But this will be a formal script, a formal narration of, objectification. So we are going to be talking about objectification in games, what it is, how it shows up, who it affects, and the impact it can have. So without wasting further time, let's dive in. What is objectification? Well, at its core, objectification is reducing a person, most often a woman, to her physical traits. Stripped of depth and dignity or agency, they become visual objects designed to be consumed. In games, this becomes especially complex because players are not just passive viewers. They embody, they interact, and live in these worlds for hours. And when objectification is baked, is sandwiched, is pushed into that experience, its effects go far beyond the screen. Now, the age-old question arises: who gets objectified? Who gets objectified more? Male versus female representation. Is it men or is it women? Do men get objectified? Yes, men do get objectified. Let's clear that out of the way. Do men get objectified once again? Yes. Hyper-masculine designs exist everywhere. But there is a key difference. Male characters are designed to inspire aspiration, to be powerful, to be dominant and capable. We see that everywhere. You can take an example of any major male character and see that in games. They are mostly designed to inspire aspiration, to be powerful, dominant, and capable, whereas female characters are disproportionately designed to be watched, to be ogled, to be desired. When you see the camera shots linger on hips or cleavage and costumes that defy all sorts of logic, poses that serve no in-world purpose except titillation, that's not empowerment. That's objectification. Look at Cantarella in Wuthering Waves, or literally any other, character. You see examples are just vast out there to pick from. Take any of these. Some of them have an emotional backstory, like I said, Cantarella. Emotional backstory, yes. Amazing character arc, maybe. But her introduction and design were so hypersexualized that most players' discourse became voyeuristic. They thought less of the story, it was more of Cantarella's cleavage. Then came Cantarella's story. And even then, even now, what is there left for Cantarella's story after it's over? Her body. Nothing else apart from that. It's her body that's still talked about. Not her story, not the emotional arc. Maybe it's like a sprinkle of powdered sugar on a pastry or a donut. That is just the value that her story has in a world that is so hypersexualized and objectified. That is something that I feel like you could think about. So, powerful narrative undermined by visual design meant for the male gaze. Or you could take Grand Theft Auto for once, where women are routinely portrayed as strippers, prostitutes, or sexual objects in side missions. GTA built an entire culture out of sex scenery in games. In contrast, male leads in GTA embody agency, choice, and freedom. Women are just window dressing props for male power fantasy in the end, in that game. Now, I don't know if any one of you played that game. I'm not too sure if you guys have. Maybe you guys have, maybe you haven't. But I'm sure you're all familiar with GTA, and you can do a good Google search over GTA and the controversy it's had with regards to how it's treated its female characters. I'm not even going to go into the depth with that in this video because honestly, you guys can check it out for yourself. That's going to take quite a while if I deep dive into GTA. But that is open space for you guys to go ahead and research for yourself. So, morality free versus freedom. This brings us to the core part of the debate or the discussion. It's not a debate, I will say it's a discussion. Now, some will say, why should game developers be restricted? Freedom of expression matters. Yes, it absolutely does. But freedom of expression without responsibility is privilege. If freedom leads to an industry where one demographic, which is women, are consistently objectified for profit, then must we question that? It's not about policing art. It's about recognizing when creative freedom turns into cultural harm, when one group's freedom depends on another group's reduction. That is not balance. That is bias masquerading as creativity. Then we come to our fourth point, power fantasy. Who is served in this situation, in this massive, plot of objectification? What power fantasy is served here, and to whom? Games are power fantasy. True, they are. But the question is, whose power fantasy? When male players get to embody strength, skill, agency, and female players are handed lingerie-clad avatars or NPCs to be pursued or dominated, this is not a shared fantasy space. It is built for male consumption by male-centered design choices. And this can also be applicable to the characters that are designed. It is for the men and by the men. And we're just there, like a random sprinkle on donuts, like dust, like sugar dust here. And then you might even wonder, like, why should you care? Because games shape culture. Repeated exposure to objectified imagery of women in games reinforces damaging stereotypes in real life. And we can see this happen to female streamers, to developers, to players who report rampant harassment in gaming communities. There are so many studies out there. You can see female Twitch streamers get extremely harassed, abused, and verbally, and even like when they're doing their streaming, maybe out in the open. How many times have we not seen female maybe there's a video, or maybe there's a news titled "Female Twitch streamer gets abused," "Female Twitch streamer gets verbally and physically assaulted." We have seen so many examples of these. So, where do we draw the line here? How much of it is too much? The line is crossed when objectification eclipses character depth and dignity. when female characters exist primarily to be consumed visually, while male characters embody power and agency. We perpetuate a cultural imbalance that harm players of all genders and even those of non-binary. This isn't about moral policing. It's about creating spaces where everyone can engage fully, not as objects to be watched or ogled at, but as human beings with stories worth telling. Hot characters aren't bad, but a medium where every woman is designed to serve male desire, that is a medium that must evolve. That is a medium that must be questioned, that must be, taken into account. That will only happen when we sit down and have discussions such as these, or we decide where we draw the line and how and who we look at as human beings and what agency we give them. So this is it for this video essay. I will come up with another video again, as I mentioned, which will be more of a personal note where I share with you my observations, and it'll be pretty interesting because this is more of an essay, and I just wanted to make sure that all my points were in it before I deep dive into it informally and give you a very personal take on this topic. So this is Nori signing off from Love. Did I say Love in Deep Space? At this point, it's just all Love in Deep Space. So this is Nori signing off. Do keep an eye out on this for the second video, and it's going to be a interesting topic. Until then, yes, take care, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye bye, you guys.